Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Learn Italian with Songs. Today will be more about dialects than Italian actually, but we are going to talk about Italian as well because as usual I like to compare the differences between dialects and Italian, also to show first how important dialects are culturally speaking for people living in Italy, and second how different dialects can be if compared to Italian, at the point that some of what are called dialects are even recognized as true languages, like actual languages, and some of them would like to be recognized as such. Buonasera. Also, another thing, usually I say this at the end of the stream, but at this point I'm going to start, or at least I will try to start saying this at the beginning. If you have songs you'd like me to analyze, so songs you want me to give the priority to, you can tell me. Just let me know in the comments. Okay, you can ask even live or on Discord, but there are no issues. Normally I give priority in the first place to what the community asks. In second place, what the algorithm pushes, or like what's trending right now, because every week we have new Italian songs being released, or like old songs becoming popular again because of things happening. And then like songs that I think might be interesting. But generally speaking, if you, in personal, you want me to analyze something specific, don't worry, let me know and I will take that into consideration. Last year, for example, I used to do less streams concerning songs. Now, since we had Sanremo 2025, I'm giving more priority to this format. But for example, last year I had a list of requests and I was doing them one by one. In this case, we sort of agreed about analyzing the songs of Sanremo 2025. Later on, we are going to dive into 2024 ones, okay? But if you want me to give the priority to certain Sanremo songs from the block we are analyzing, or completely detached from that, like for example when we analyzed Sottomarini by Mahmood, is totally fine. Like, don't worry, just let me know if you have preferences. That said, let's go back to today's song. Okay, today we are going to talk about Mille Vote Ancora by Rocco Hunt. Now I have to put one hand, two hands, an army of hands in front of me, which is like an Italian way of saying like mettere le mani avanti. So to make a premise, to give context, like excuses. Okay, I can give priority to that if you want. This song is 60% in not even Neapolitan dialect, because technically Rocco Hunt is from Salerno, which is not Napoli, so it is a dialect from Campania, but not really Napolitan. It is a variation, so keep in mind that Dialects are mainly oral, so they have variations and different nuances according to the zones, okay? So basically, this is not my dialect, not even a nuance of my dialect, because I come from the north of Italy, and Salerno is in Campania, which is the same region of Napoli, so in the south. So very, very different dialects. This influences also the pronunciation, because different dialects have very specific phonetic that usually it is not shared with Italian. The phonetics, vowel-wise, closer to Italian is Toscano. But even in that case, there are peculiar nuances and differences concerning the consonant. So I am going to read in Salernitano. However, keep in mind that this is not my dialect. My pronunciation is for sure not perfect. I have friends from Naples, so I understand a bit of dialetti campani, but I don't speak them, okay? I don't even speak my own dialect. I barely speak it. So imagine concerning another dialect completely different from mine. Is not about accent. Is a completely different phonetics, okay? And also, last time that I heard someone speaking in Salernitano, I was like 17, because my ex used to speak it, but like long time has passed, and the closest things I have is Napoletano, which is not even my dialect. So, amici napoletani, amici salernitani, non vi offendete, faccio del mio meglio, ok? That said, let's start with the title, because even the title is in dialect. For those of you knowing a little bit more of Italian, you might think, oh, but there's a mistake in what you wrote. It's not mille vote ancora, it is mille volte ancora. No. In this dialect, volte skips the L. So instead of having mille volte ancora, we have mille vote ancora. Also, there are many schwa sounds, which is a very peculiar sound not all languages have. I am improving that sound thanks to the fact that I am studying both Romanian and French. It is true that my dialect has this sound, but it is not that much used and not in all variations. While for dialetti campani, so the dialects from Campania, it is a very important sound. And is not that simple to pronounce, at least for me, because I'm not that used to it. So, that said, premise made. What's the meaning? The meaning is in Italian mille volte ancora, which in English would be translated as 1,000 times more. And what's the meaning of this title, the song, the lyrics? What's the concept behind it? Well, as usual, I took a quote from the artist, in this case Rocco Hunt, and I translated it. So, Rocco Hunt says, Mille Vote Ancora is a Napolitan title in which the L of volte is missing, not by mistake, but precisely because it is in dialect, as I was explaining. It is a song that speaks about the affection that a person feels for their land, and in particular, it's about my story, but above all, the story of many other kids. we are going to understand why while going through the lyrics. If I had to think about an image that represents my song, I'd think of an ordinary neighborhood or a child who dreams. Okay, so this is the idea, the concept behind the song. So, let's start with the intro. Mi ricordo una strada. I remember a street. Un quartiere qualunque. A random neighborhood, as in a neighborhood like any other. Un bambino che sogna, a child who dreams, pure se non ha niente, even if he has nothing. Because bambino is masculine, bambina is feminine. Ogni giorno è un regalo, every day is a gift, per chi come me è destinato a partire. For those like me who are destined to live. E le voci di chi ha giudicato, and the voices of those who judged, ritornano nella mia testa. Come back to my head. So like, come back to mind. I remember them. Mi dicevano, tu non sarai mai nessuno. They told me, you will never be someone. As in, you will never be famous. You will never count. You'll always be a nobody. Okay, that's the meaning. So, we start already in the intro with a quite clear picture of a struggle typical of many cities in the south. And more all of Italy. Why? In Italy, we have a big issue that was never solved, which is called, usually called questione meridionale, which is the difference in wealth, infrastructures, resources, etc. between the region of the north and the region of the south, mainly below Rome. Okay. What happened is that the north always been more industrialized, while the south traditionally is always been more rural. Okay. So more on the first sector in the south and more the second in the north. Now, this issue was always a big problem in Italy, because instead of like many governments try to solve this issue, no one really managed to do much. And this gap between the north and the south kept growing, because the north started richer. Okay, for it is a very complex situation. I'm trying to simplifying. If you need more resources, I would be happy to provide them. But to put it simple, the north had access to more resources, and instead of balancing the distribution of resources to balance the situation and solve the issue, more and more resources kept flowing into the north. So the south received less and less infrastructures, wealth, resources in general, attention, and whatnot. That's why mafia and this type of criminal organizations were born in the south. Because what happens when you don't have the state doing its job, helping you, providing you with basic needs, for example, healthcare, schools, like the basics. Of course, when there is a lack of power, like there is a gap that need to be filled, there will be always someone ready to fill that gap. And in that case, it was originally this type of criminal organizations that start to act instead of the state, because the state abandoned these regions, and it grew like a cancer. And even now, we still have many issues with this problem. So we are going to see a clear description of the struggle in southern region. Rocco Hunt comes from Salerno, one of the main cities of Campania. Campania is one of the southern regions of Italy which struggles due to this gap between north and south. This applies also to Sardinia, for example. And it is a real struggle because we have basic infrastructures missing, but not as in, oh, we miss internet, boohoo, which is, by the way, in nowadays society, it is a struggle because it means that you don't have access to a whole set of jobs, for example. And if you can't work, you can't stay because you can't make a living. So you are obliged to move in another region, cities, even countries. In fact, right now, it is quite common to come to study in northern universities and then going to get a job abroad because going back home, it is almost impossible. Not only because there is no job, but again, there's no basic infrastructure. And as I was saying, it's not only about internet. For example, we have very serious crisis happening every summer because, for example, the whole hydric network, so the pipes going, the big pipes underground, bringing the water to cities, it is often in shambles and the water cannot reach certain places. And with a set of issues due to, among the other, climate changes, we reach very high temperature, like even 50 degrees in Sicily, and you can understand the struggle if you don't even have water. The fact that you can't even bring water to your own citizen while technically you are a first world country, it is absurd. No, I understand about the internet, that disconnection, very idyllic, but the issue is that not having access to internet in nowadays society, it also means that you are missing on several job opportunities. It means that you don't have access to all the administrative resources that normally, like, many people joke about bureaucracy in Italy, but there are countries where it is much worse. Incredibly, I had more issues with public administration in France than in Italy because, truth be told, as we like to say, a Cesare quel che di Cesare, we have a lot of bureaucracy that can be carried on websites. So you don't have to physically go to the office, take a permit from your job and whatnot. Not having internet, not having an internet infrastructure means that you don't have access to a service that technically should be granted to all the citizens. It means that you don't have access to internet for research purposes, like education-wise, while other regions in Italy or other cities have this opportunity. This clearly is not compliant with the concept of equality and equity promised by the Italian Constitution, for example. We are struggling with public healthcare, which is one of the pillars of of Italy as a republic, and Italy as a concept, as a culture. Like, it should be like, it is granted, it is one of the basic rights granted by our constitution, but in practice, this is not granted to all the citizens. Even the north is struggling. The south doesn't even have the hospital in some main cities, or they have them overwhelmed, because there's not enough staff and there are too many people in need of help. You have no schools, another example, because of course, people just move, they don't make children anymore, because they don't come back, and the schools close, or simply you don't have people who want to teach in that school, because you have no services. So the quality of life is worse in a certain town if compared to another one. So it is a problem that, if not solved, keeps accumulating, and getting worse and worse every year. Because people cannot live, they move, the state, instead of fixing, keeps directing resources to regions and cities with more population. So people keep moving to those cities, that in those cities keep getting more resources than the other. So it is a loop where you keep moving resources to one place to another. When one at certain point becomes overwhelmed, overpopulated, over everything, it is not able to manage all these people, and on the other side you have cities that get abandoned and drained of whatever. uh, yeah, tell me about it. I know something as well about it. And so I understand that from a foreigner perspective, maybe this song is not going to speak to you, but I'm trying to explain, doing this whole context TED talk, to make you understand how serious the situation is, to show you that this song is no joke. On the contrary, it is trying to paint a picture of struggle, very serious struggle. So already with this intro, he's not exaggerating. Like, basically, he's saying, whatever street you go, whatever neighborhood, you can see children with nothing, who are dreaming, and since they want to keep living and keep dreaming, they know that each gift they are allowed to stay in their city is a gift, because at a certain point they'll have to go away, because the city won't be able to sustain them anymore, because they won't have a school, they won't have healthcare, they won't have job opportunities. So in a certain way, he's saying, since I was a child, I was already dealing with this looming idea that at certain point, I would have reached the point where I had to go away, okay, to leave my city. And in fact, he said, per chi come me è destinato a partire, for those like me who are destined to leave. Because if you want to make it, if you want to have a good life, you know that you have to leave. And le voci di chi ha giudicato, and the voices of those who judged, ritornano nella mia testa, come back to my mind. Because another phenomenon that happens in Italy, mainly, it is pretty much everywhere, because those of us going in other countries to get better life opportunities are treated like shit because we betrayed our country for a better life and we didn't want to fight for Italy. And in a smaller quantity, it happens already to people who leave their city to move to a city or a region in the north, or simply another region or another city. In fact, like if I remember correctly, Rocco Hunt moved from Salerno to Milano. And when you do that, not only you have to deal with the heartbreaking feeling of leaving your home, but you also have all the people staying there telling you that anyway you'll be a failure and you will be failing. Because we also have to deal with those who are left and who are not interested in improving the situation. So they complain that you are going away, but at the same time they are not willing to do anything to improve the situation, so you are incentivized to stay or to come back. So it is it is a very hard situation, and as an Italian living in another country, I understand. I really understand what he's saying here. And then we have the first verse. E ora non mi ricordo più come l'odore del caffè. And now I don't remember anymore how's the smell of of coffee. Now, I know that usually when you think about Italy, you think about pizza, pasta, caffè, and so on. However, people from Campania have a very specific type of coffee, which is considered by many the best coffee. Similar to the reasonment according to which, yes, we do pizza everywhere in Italy, but technically the best pizza you can find is in Naples or generally in Campania. Which makes sense, and I understand. For example, I don't like coffee, generally speaking. I just drink it because it helps with my metabolism. But first of all, I'm going to drink the coffee in France. And second of all, I order it from Italy, but I order a very specific coffee which comes from Naples. Really, if coffee is important in Italy, it is fundamental in many cities and towns of Campania. In fact, we will see in this song this detail about coffee coming back, because the perfume, the smell of coffee, it is something like for people coming from not all people, but for many people coming from these cities, home smells like coffee, which is a very specific feeling that it is not easy to explain. Quelle canzoni che mamma ascoltava alla radio. Those songs that mom listened to on the radio. Giocavamo in quartiere. And here we can already see some differences dialect-wise, because, for example, for me would be more natural to say giocavamo nel quartiere, while Rocco Hunt says giocavamo in quartiere. Now, I don't remember if both structures are grammatically correct, but we understand, so no problem. Sembrava uno stadio. We play in the neighborhood, it seems like a stadium. And here we have the classic imagery of children, because when we are children, when we are a child, we see everything bigger, more fantastic. So even playing in the streets of the neighborhood is like playing in a stadium, ok? Non è stata domenica mai più. It's never be Sunday again. Da quando sono andato via da casa mia. Since I left my home. These verses are very hard to explain because it is really something cultural. Sundays are in many towns of Italy. You can see it a lot in southern towns where Sunday is a celebration day. It is an environment, a mood very hard to explain if you never lived it. Okay. That's why he says it's never been Sunday again. Like, I was never able to feel that atmosphere anymore since I moved. Rimpiango anche le cose che odiavo, I regret even the things I hated, le stesse che mi hanno fatto andare via, the very same that made me leave. Here truly it hits harder, this song, if you experienced these things, because it is not a feeling that I can explain like a grammar concept. So but like if you know sort of situation. L'erba cresce, sorry, like I have my page going sbrr. L'erba cresce in un campetto abbandonato. The grass grows in an abandoned little field, because campo would be field, campetto is little field. In this case, probably he's hinting to a campetto da calcio. Usually the campetto da calcio, the soccer little field, literally translated, is a field where you play soccer or football, but it is smaller because instead of playing 11 versus 11, you are supposed to play 5 versus 5. So this is the mentioned campetto. Well, what can I say, Gaso? I guess it is like that when you grow up pretty much everywhere, but at least when you are a child, you have also because Sunday is usually the day where you go to church if you are a Catholic in Italy. Never been my case, don't worry. My family is so religious that I'm not even baptized, and I'm Italian. I think I said everything. So, but in southern region, religion is more followed. So the whole thing about going to church and then doing the whole celebration, eating with the whole of the family. It is something that, for example, we do in my family as well, more when I was a child and I had all the grandparents alive. Yeah, that's like a fun fact. I saw many people like, check out my shorts, my video with my nonna, because I see this trend where like people, instead of saying grandmother, they say nonna because it is more Italian, I guess, so it's cooler. Well, almost all my nonni are in a better place, if you know what I mean, so that's it. But when I was a child, I had as well this thing where we met more with my whole family, we ate together. Sometimes my parents still do that with my grandparents who are still alive, but they are old, they are sick. For example, my grandmother, it's not even able to cook anymore due to health issues, despite loving doing that. So I kind of understand this feeling about losing this celebration atmosphere that you connect mainly to when you are a child, because when you are a child, yes, you help a bit, and but that's it. Then you go to play. Truth has to be told. His perspective is probably also influenced by the fact that he's a man. Because we have to be honest, it is also true that in Italy, and I know that some Eastern European countries share this beautiful, I'm ironic, use that you have the male children playing outside and whatnot, while you have the little girls having to help with chores because chores are a woman thing. So also no, don't worry guys, it's okay. um the fact that Rocco Hunt is a man probably also influence his perception, and probably while he was playing outside, he had sisters, cousins, female friends who were helping inside the house. Maybe not, but it's something that I've seen happening a lot in Italy, so just for intellectual honesty. Anyway, we were saying, l'erba cresce in un campetto abbandonato, the grass grows in an abandoned little field, colpa dei telefoni, non ci hanno più giocato. It's the phone's fault. We just say phone's fault, because in Italian we often put only colpa di, colpa dei, colpa delle, carrying not expliciting the verb. They haven't played with it anymore. Now, I don't know how much if he's ironic, so yeah, let's blame it on the phones while the problems are others, or maybe he's serious. I have no clue. Free interpretation, I guess. L'ansia nel cuore quando le citofonavo. The anxiety in my heart when I rang her bell. Like, citofonare means to ring the bell, as in like when you go visit someone. Se rispondeva il padre, poi scappavo. If the father answered, then I used to run away. Lo Stato è assente come noi in mezzo a quei banchi. The state is absent like us among those desks. Of course, here we are meaning i banchi di scuola, the school desks. And I think I can say this is probably the best verse of the whole song, because it pretty much summarizes the whole struggle described. There are many good verses, not gonna lie. To me, this is the best though. Un foglio bianco dove scriverò mi manchi, a blank sheet where I will write I miss you. Tutto quello che ti serve nel quartiere, everything you need in the neighborhood, studia oppure impara tuo mestiere. Which in Italian would be impara il mestiere, which in English would be study or learn the trade. Concerning this point, he is mentioning an actual idiom, expression from his dialect, which is o studi o impara tuo mestiere. And it is, he explained this in one of the interviews, and he explained that it's something adults tell children in order to tell them don't stay on the street without doing anything. You need an objective. You need to do something in your life. You need to keep yourself busy. You cannot just sit around. Why? Because it is something dangerous. I'm going to explain. In a situation where criminal associations are very powerful, specifically Salerno is in the south of Campania, towards Calabria. So it is one of those cities where the influence of 'Ndrangheta, so the main criminal association from Calabria, and Camorra, the main criminal association from Campania, are very strong, like they have a very strong influence. This means that if you don't study or like study theoretical, like to go to work in the future, or learning a trade, learning a job like a manual one, like a mechanic, I don't know, a waiter, an artisan, okay? If you don't go somewhere in a workshop to school and you stay on the street, you have very high chances to be enrolled in this criminal association. And I can tell you, I know that there are countries where it's like whatever, but I can tell you, I would never, I would do anything as a mother to keep my child away from this criminal association, because they, like 90%, they come back horizontally, as we like to say in Italian, which means they are going to kill them in some clan battle or things like that. In other words, it is a very dangerous game you don't want to play, okay? Also because in Italy we still have a part of the population which is romanticizing these criminal associations, these criminal organizations, and that's why many of us get a bit worked up when we hear mainly foreigners speaking about mafia like something cool, because we know what these criminal association and organization really do, which is kill our children, our brothers, our sisters, our parents. And it's not something cool at all. So in order to save your children, you want them to study or to learn how to do a job, because if you just let them be and sit around on the street, they have very high chances to be enrolled in these situations. Also because usually the promise is, oh, don't go to school, studying is hard, I'm going to help you to make easy money. Of course, it's not easy money. It is actually a very dangerous situation that never pays back, statistically speaking. Trust me, having studying law for years, I saw some statistics or two. Wouldn't recommend. So that's why it hits so hard, this sentence, if you know the background. And we have the first line, the first verse, the first line, the first words in dialect, which offer a little bit a bridge towards the pre-chorus and then the chorus, which are almost entirely in dialect. In fact, we have the pre-chorus. You see the blue, the sentences I marked in blue because they are in dialect, and I usually add as a comparison the Italian equivalent. E mo riportami dove, and now take me back where. Unlike many people could think, this is not actually dialect. Mo is a truncation of modo, which long etymology, but to to put it simply, in Italian, the truncation of modo, mo means now. It is not used anywhere, everywhere, sorry. It is often colloquial. I would say pretty much nowadays it considered colloquial, but it's not strictly dialect. We used in several regions and so just so you know. O veramente son io. Veramente sono io. So, e mo riportami dove veramente sono io, literally speaking. Which is, and now take me back where I really am. What does it mean, however, in dialect, where I am? It is a metaphor, it is a sort of expression to say where I really come from. And what is the place where I really come from? My home, my land. So in this case, it's like saying, and now take me back where my home is, where I come from. Take me back to my home. Ho caffè dinte canzoni. Il caffè dentro alle canzoni. The coffee inside the songs. Do you remember when I explained how important coffee is as a cultural element? Here we have another confirmation, another hint, another clue, if you want, okay? Like coffee, it is so important in this part of our culture that you find the coffee even in the songs. And it is quite funny because now if you know some neo-melodic songs, you really find a lot of coffee in those. For example, Rossetto e Caffè, one of the most famous, performed by the Colors with Sal da Vinci, the original author, in this edition of Sanremo in 2025. So, yeah, coffee is so important, you find it in the song, ok? In the songs. Viente mare che sbatte pedinte finestre. Il vento di mare che fa sbattere le finestre. The sea wind that makes the windows bang. Okay? Because another cultural, something culturally important for many cities on like near on the sea, like Salerno or Napoli, is the sea, in fact. And we find a lot, mentioned a lot the sea, just like the coffee, okay? Because are those simple things, but that you can really relate to several of your senses. Because when you think about coffee or the sea, you can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it on your skin. So it is a connection under many aspects. So it is complex in its simplicity, but it is also how your home looks and smells and feels like, ok? Mescete poi se ne va. Mi sveglia e poi se ne va. It wakes me up and then goes away. Because we have this image, this picture, this image of the sea wind coming, banging the windows, waking up the protagonist and then going away, because this is how the wind works. Me vonno fottere l'anima. We already are quite familiar with the anima thanks to Serena Brancale. Mi vogliono fottere l'anima. Which in this case, fottere can mean both fuck, okay, as in to spoil my soul. They want to spoil my soul, but also to steal it, because fottere in Italian, which literally is to fuck, it also means to steal something, okay? So they want to ruin, they want to steal my soul. By the way, to all of those saying, no, in Sanremo we don't have the songs with the swear words, like, keep telling that to yourself. Ma io con poco sto buono, ma io con poco sto bene. But I'm fine with little, just a little. Due prete per fare una porta, 2 pietre per fare una porta, literally 2 stones to make a door, but what is this door? It is the football or soccer goal. Okay, think about the field where you play football or soccer, and you can imagine at the 2 extremities the goals. Okay, so where you have to send the ball in to make points. Okay, and here he's basically saying, I don't need much in my life. In fact, as a child, I was happy because with 2 stones, I was able to make the soccer goals and play. Okay, because what's the idea? That you put 2 rocks, and if you kick the ball in between the 2 rocks, it is a goal. Okay, and also for those who watch the live about Rosevillen, we already are very familiar with prete, okay? Or even better, una preta, okay? Because una preta, a rock, a stone. Due prete, 2 rocks, 2 stones. Why am I mentioning this? Because right before the first performance of Rosevillen with Fuorilegge, we it became a meme, the fact that someone in the perfect silence right before the start of the performance of Rosevillen shouted in the middle of the audience, Sine preta. Sine preta is like you are hot, you are very good looking, okay, you are very attractive, which is an idiomatic expression in Napolitan. And in fact, just like in that case we had sina preta, you are 1 stone, literally speaking, we have here, in this case, not an idiomatic expression, but literally 2 rocks, doi preta, okay? God bless all my lesson of Romanian, because this is the only way I can read now better Napolitan and Salernitano, otherwise would have been tragic. Tornasse creaturo per correre. Tornerei bambino per correre. I would go back, implied, in time, being a child, to run. Running as a child is a very common picture we have, because you are a child, what do? You run around. It is a metaphor for freedom, for being like without worries, okay? It is very much a very good representation of like stay calm, chill, Hakuna Matata, or as they like to say in Campania, sta senza pensieri, which literally means stay without thoughts, stay without worries. Perfect. Like this is the image that comes to mind if I heard these expressions. And then we have the chorus, which is a mix between a chorus and a hook, because we have the title of the song repeated several times, which makes sense given the meaning of this sentence. Mille volte ancora. Mille volte ancora. 1,000 times more. E ridere, and laughing. Mille volte ancora. 1,000 times more, e chiagnere, which in Italian chiagnere is piangere and cry. Mille vote ancora, 1,000 times more, a casa mia, my home. And once again, mille vote ancora, 1,000 times more. Now, a casa mia, it could be my house, because this might be the abbreviated form of la, so la casa mia, my home. There is like this double meaning, because it can also be a casa mia, like at my home. The meaning doesn't change much. But it is basically like when he's saying, I would like back to go being a child, to laugh again and cry again and just stay and just being at my home and just being at home. And I would like to do this 1,000 times more, because in the end, I love my home and it breaks my heart leaving it. Then we have the second verse, which is half in Italian and half in dialect, so follow me, because this is going to be a roller coaster of emotion. Faccio brutti sogni e poi mi scete botto, poi mi sveglio di botto. I have bad dreams and then I wake up suddenly. Di botto is an Italian expression, an idiom, which means suddenly. It is quite colloquial. If you want the less colloquial and more literal translation, closer to English, is poi mi sveglio all'improvviso. Di botto is figuratively, okay? Il botto is like it's the explosion, so it's the idea of like you hear an explosion, you wake up suddenly, okay? That's why it is used as a metaphor. Vedo le facce degli amici che non ci stanno più, che non ci sono più. I see the faces of the friends who are no longer here. So, as in, they passed, they are in a better place, they died, because of the issue I was explaining before of being involved in criminality, okay, in criminal gangs, clans, and whatnot. Aggio, instead of ho sbagliato a prendermi le colpe. I was wrong to take the blame. Where in Italian you can also use the plural, like in this case, while usually in English it is always singular, because the blame is a more collective entity. Instead, in Italian you have la colpa and le colpe, plural, singular and plural. A pensare, potevo fare di più. To think, I could have done more. Ad immaginare, nu instead of un. Finale diverso. To imagine a different ending. A pensà, sì che la palla non pigliava traversa. A pensare se quella palla non avesse preso la traversa. To think if that ball hadn't hit the crossbar. A distinguere l'amore dal sesso. To distinguish, to tell apart love from sex. Se opposto e vincere avesse perso, fosse rimasto me stesso. Se al posto di vincere avessi perso, sarei rimasto me stesso. If instead of winning I had lost, would have I remained myself? So we have this first section of the second verse of picturing the image of him like waking up at night suddenly, still having a lot of worries, regrets, like feeling guilty. This is a very good representation of guilt. So he starts to think, maybe I could have done more. Maybe I could have achieved a different ending. Like here, a pensare, se quella palla non avesse preso la traversa, la traversa is the crossbar. Okay, here a lot of metaphors related to soccer and football. So basically, you have the goal. Okay, the goal usually has 3 bars, 2 vertical, 1 horizontal. The horizontal one at the top is called in Italian la traversa. And usually when you hit there with a goal, it is a source of shame, because it is one of those cases where you are so close to get things right, and yet you fail and making a mistake. So this is the idea. So what if I hadn't made those mistakes to tell apart love from sex? And then he asks, what if instead of winning, I had lost? So I gave my everything to become an artist. What if I had failed, right? Would have I remained myself? Would have I ended up like people, friends I know, in a bad and dangerous environment? Did I save myself just because I was lucky and I had success? Is wealth and success what saved me? Because probably in their position, I would have made mistakes as well, take very bad decisions, which is this is a very important thought. Professional deformation after 2 years of studying sociology. The idea of people are not bad. People, if put in the right conditions, will take bad choices, because he knows that many people didn't even know they had an alternative. Because the point is, would you take the good decision, the good path, without knowing that you have an alternative? Because it is a very good point. Like, if you take someone out of a bad environment where criminals are seen as heroes, are seen as like your only chance to do something with your life and to make a living, if you take them away from that environment, chances are they are going to be functioning human beings in the society. They won't die. They won't give themselves to a life of crime, right? So the idea is that if my friends had the same chances, the same success I had, probably they wouldn't have been in the situation they ended up. That's a bit the idea. And in fact, he keeps saying, il nemico a volte è l'orgoglio, the enemy sometimes is the pride, che chiude rapporti anche se non c'è un motivo, that ends relationship even if there is no reason. Siamo carte stropicciate nel portafoglio, we are crumpled papers in the wallet. Siamo anime buone in un mondo cattivo. We are good souls in a bad world. And here, what am I supposed to say if not, yes, I do agree? Because it is always the point, oh yeah, but people always have a choice. Yes, But if you create choices where people feel hopeless and the only thing they have left is a life dedicated to crime, of course you are making their chance to get involved in a life like that higher. If you improve environments, provide healthcare, provide school, education, provide a good environment, fight against the crime, provide job opportunities that make people feel realized, you lower the chance of them getting involved into crimes, right? This is a bit the point of siamo anime buone in un mondo cattivo. We are good souls in a bad world. Because it is very cool saying, oh, I would never do that. No, chances are you would do it put in the same situation. That's a bit the point. Perciò dicim tutto a posto. Perciò diciamo, or dimmi, because dicim, I found two different translations in Italian, which is diciamo, but also dimmi, tutto a posto. So we say, or so we tell me, everything is fine. Like, the idea here is like, let's comfort a bit each other. Probably also a bit with the idea, I did everything that I could have done. It's a bit the idea of if I had the chance to do better, I would have done it. Anche quando il mondo cade sulle spalle nostre. Even when the world falls on our shoulder. Usually you would expect sulle nostre spalle, but in Italian, for several reasons, you can move the order. Mainly in certain dialects, you have the tendency to move the adjectives after the noun they are referring to. Anche quando alle domande non c'è una risposta. Even when to the questions there's no answer. A campà così è tosta. Campare così è tosta. Campare is another way in Italian to say vivere. So living like this is tough. Another way you could say it in Italian, vivere così è dura. Or è difficile. Era meglio a casa nostra. Again, you can either see it as it was better at home, at our home, or our home was better. Both work. Then we have once again the pre-chorus. E mo riportami dove, and now take me back where, o veramente son io, to my land, from where I really come from. O caffè dinte canzoni, the coffee inside the song, viente mare che sbatte pidinte fineste, the sea wind that makes windows bang. Me sceta un po' e se ne va, it wakes me up and then goes away, me vonno fottere l'anima. They want to steal my soul. Magico poco sto buono, but I'm fine with little. Doglie prete per fa una porta, two stones to make a goal. Tornasse creatura per correre. I would go back to being a child to run. Mille vote ancora, 1,000 times more, e ridere, and laughing. Mille vote ancora, 1,000 times more, e chiagnere, and cry. Mille vote ancora, 1,000 times more, a casa mia, my home, mille vote ancora, 1,000 times more. Then we have a bridge connecting the chorus to another section where the repetition of the pre-chorus and the chorus are going to serve as an outro of the song. Se mi vedi un po' triste perché, qualche volta, qualche volta. If you see me a little sad, it's because sometimes. Mi manca, stai mamma mia, a casa mia. Mi mancano molto la mia mamma, la mia casa. I miss a lot my mom, my home. Dove ancora si muore per niente a 20 anni. Where people still die for nothing at 20 years old. In Italian it is impersonal, okay? I couldn't replicate the same structure of the sentence in English, but just so you know, dove ancora si muore is impersonal. Sti figli na capì, questi figli devono capire, these children have to understand, sta guerra da finì. Questa guerra deve finire. This war must end. And then we have, as I said, once again the pre-chorus. E mo riportami dove, and now take me back where, o veramente son io, from where I really come from, o caffè dinte canzoni, the coffee inside the songs, viente mare che sbatte per dinte feneste, the sea wind that makes the windows bang, mescete poi se ne va, it wakes me up and then goes away, me vonno fottere l'anima, they want to steal my soul, ma io cu poco sto buona, but I'm fine with a little, do je prete per fa' una porta, two stones to make a goal. Tornasse creatura per correre, I would go back to being a child to run, Mille Vote Ancora, 1,000 times more, e ridere, and laughing, Mille Vote Ancora, 1,000 times more, e chiagnere, and crying. I forgot to put it, because technically it is to cry, but e chiagnere, and crying, Mille Vote Ancora, 1,000 times more, a casa mia, my home, Mille Vote Ancora, 1,000 times more. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Mille Vote Ancora. Now, as usual, let's get to the gossip. Specifically, in this case, the gossip, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to repeat what I explained when I did the analysis of Fuorilegge by Rose Villain. We found out at the end of the Sanremo Music Festival the culprit, the actor who created the meme Sina Preta. Now, what happened? During the first night of the Sanremo Music Festival 2025, Rose Villain was about to perform, okay? And right before the artists perform, the lights go down, there is silence in the audience, so that the artist can concentrate and perform at his best, her best, their best. Okay? When was the turn of Rose Villain? Silence, no lights, and from that perfect and still silence, you hear a voice rising from the audience, screaming Sina Preta, which, as I was explaining, means you are hot, you are very attractive, okay? Now, you are very attractive in Napolitan, or like pretty much all the dialects from Campania. So, everyone was wondering, who the fuck had the brilliant idea of doing that at the end of the festival? Comes out a little video, like a reel, a short, a TikTok, where Rocco Hunt is like video calling one of his friends, and he proudly confesses that it was him screaming Sina Preta to Rosvillen. And because, of course, the artists can, they bring the entourage and whatnot, the assistant, makeup artist, stylist, and everything. But in the audience, they can have their parents, their friends, sisters, and whatnot. I don't know how many people they can bring, but apparently Rocco Hunt brought his family, mother and father, and in fact, during the last night, he went to hug the parents in the audience, because of course, while performing, the artists at Sanremo Music Festival can start going in the audience, go around, and he specifically went while singing to hug his father and his mother, and then he went back. And apparently one of the friends he invited was the one screaming to Rosvillen, Sina Prete. Che uomo. Un idolo. So, and this was one thing. Besides that, we really like the gossip in a certain way is that there is no gossip, because Rocco Hunt, the song of Rocco Hunt ranked quite low, because it ranked 25th. And I don't really agree with that, to be honest. Because, as I explained, the lyrics are very interesting. Could it be because it is in dialect? I don't know, but chances are. I'm going to explain. In Italy, it's not well seen when you speak in dialect, because for a series of reasons, many people in Italian society are pushed to think that if you speak dialect and not Italian, you are ignorant. And in fact, it is very common to find on social media people insulting each other because wrong grammar. So, I don't agree with it. I think that having at least a B2 level of Italian, which is not that easy to achieve. I'm going to be honest about it. Many Italians cannot reach a B2 in Italian from all the regions. But at the same time, I think it is very important to protect dialects, because dialects are an incredibly interesting linguistic phenomenon, for a start. But it is also a beautiful expression of local cultures. Many people think that cultures in countries are like monolithic, like they are one homogeneous entity. No. All countries are often divided in regions, and each region I don't know, Gaso, I guess. But the thing is, regions are relevant, culturally speaking. This is true for Italy, it's true for France, for Spain, for all the countries, okay? Yes, you can have a language in common, but this doesn't mean that your culture is exactly the same, okay? No, don't say that. Don't say that, Gaso. You got this. You got this. Don't worry. In fact, on this point, since you said that, it is important to think that for many Italians, refusing to speak a good Italian and instead preferring their dialect as their main tongue it is an act of rebellion against a culture, a country that they feel like it was forced on them, okay? Because of the whole explanation I gave at the beginning, because when we reunited Italy in 1861, the Italy in the end was never really united. We still have la questione meridionale, the meridional issue. And due to this, this is something that happens mainly in the south, but there are also regions in the north that don't feel like they want to be with other people from other regions of Italy. Like there are many Italians who feel first from their region and then Italians. Okay. Due to this, many reject Italian, and not wanting to learn it. It's pretty much a decision. Like, it is a way to say, I'm not part of this. This is not my mother tongue. This is not my culture. I am attached to my region because I feel like I'm not treated fairly, because I feel like my land is abandoned. So I reject your culture. It is a symptom of a bigger problem, and I can't really be mad about it, to be honest. So, every time someone brings on the stage of Sanremo a song where there's like a big component, like a big part is in dialect, it is usually a problem. To be fair, if I had to be honest, I see as more problematic abusing English in songs, okay? Like, I prefer to, because Sanremo Music Festival is the festival of the Italian music, and pardon me, but Italian dialects are more Italian than English or French or whatever other language, with the only excuse that at least we have, for example, some dialects based on French, German, Greek, Spanish. So at least for using these languages, it is closer to the influence we had on our dialects. English really, there's no real place for English, and I'm saying this as a person who speaks English as a second language. But like, there is no reason to treat like shit people singing in dialect and then like applauding and praising people adding random English in their songs. Because at this point, if I have to give value to something, I prefer to value the dialects of my land than a B2 in English, okay? If you know what I mean. So, in my opinion, the lyrics are very interesting, much more than many other songs in the competition, if I have to be honest. Probably he was penalized because not only he's a rapper or a trapper, I don't remember, but also because he sang good portion of the song in dialect. starting from the title. And this was a little bit the controversy we are going to talk about when I'm going to finish with the 2025 songs block. And I will start with the 2024 because we are going to start with the song ranked second, which is Ipe me tu pete by Joliet. Of course, I already analyzed last year La Noia, so no need to have a remake. But that said, you will see that it's basically all like completely in dialect. And when I saw it, I said, okay, there's no way Joliet is going to win Sanremo 2024 because it doesn't matter how much people are going to vote him. There's no way a song in dialect is going to win. Personally, I understand. Yeah. Personally, I understand. And I actually wanted La Noia to win because it wasn't the classic Sanremo song about love and things like that. I really enjoyed the lyrics of La Noia and also the rhythm and the competence, the vocal competence of Angelina Mango. So I was very happy then in the end she won. I don't agree with all the hate Juliet got because I have to be honest, a lot of it was because he sang in dialect. Many Italians pointed out would have been the same if the dialect was from one of the regions from the north. I don't really have any answer to that because there are no songs I've seen recently in northern dialect. Like, guys, I really hope at certain point someone is going to bring a song in Piemontese, which is my dialect, so at least I won't struggle to read it. At the same time, I hope they won't go for Sardo, Siciliano, Genovese, Ligure, because otherwise I'm fucked. Because at least with Napolitan, Salernitano, like I have friends, okay, so I have a bit of ear about it, but there are certain songs that I'm not able to read at all. Like I should do like a separate course only to just read the lyrics of songs in certain dialects. But yeah, I don't know. Probably a song in dialect wouldn't win because in the end it doesn't matter what dialect is. Every dialect is seen badly because if you speak in dialect, you are considered like a bit ignorant, like from the countryside and whatnot. So I don't think it would change anything. Is it true that people speaking southern dialects are more targeted and hated? I don't know. I don't have data. Could be. For sure, historically speaking, people from the south received a lot of hate from people from the north because the north was convinced that we had, because I'm from the north, that we had all the industries, that we were carrying on our shoulders the whole of Italy because the south is lazy, the south doesn't work. So yeah, there was a lot of discrimination. In fact, we had a period because the main industries were initially located in Milano and Torino. Torino is the main city of my region. Milano, which is Piemonte. Milano is the main city of the region called Lombardia. Now, in the beginning, we had a lot of migrations from the northeast to the northwest, because there were several zones in the east where the Polesine, which is a river, used to destroy with now I don't remember the term in English, but basically when the river goes out its riverbed and destroys everything around. It was something that happened a lot in the east in a certain period of time in Italy. So we had many people going from northeast to northwest to work in the industries. And already this population received a good amount of hate. In fact, like, there were people saying, you want just to leech, you actually don't want to work, you are ruining our cities, we are not going to rent you things, we are not going to help you, and whatnot. And then we had the movements, the migration from the north, from the south regions to the north regions. And then it was the time, it was hating time for the south. So same thing, you don't want to work, you just bring criminality, because of course the south was heavily associated with mafia, camorra, 'ndrangheta, Sacra Corona Unita, and so on and so on. And so it was like, oh, you bring criminals, you don't want to work, you are lazy, you are ruining everything, which of course it wasn't true, because many people came to work, right? And in fact, they stayed to work, and certain industries also exploited these workers, okay? So this is true as well. And they had their good ratio, their good portion of hate. And so this hate among zones of Italy still remained. I would like to say right now it is diminishing, like it is getting better. I don't know, however, and in fact there is always the issue on the 17th of March, which is the Festa dell'Unità Nazionale, where we celebrate the unification of Italy, happened in 1861, and also mocking what's written in the first article of the Constitution, saying that Italy is united republic, because many people don't feel united at all. So now that was pretty much everything I had to say about Mille Vote Ancora. Let me know in the comments what you think about this song. That said, I hope you enjoyed. Grazie everyone for watching, and arrivederci.